In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about music as a language. I'm sure you've all heard the cliche, music is a language, but I want to go deeper and really show you how easy of a language it is to play, okay, and understand. Quick story before I begin. I recently got an email from a student, potential student in Russia, and this potential student said that they were interested in taking lessons from me because they saw through some of my videos that I teach music like a language. And this particular potential student speaks Russian, Japanese, Spanish, and English. And I thought to myself, wow, let me emphasize that with some of my other YouTube subscribers and students, etc. Okay. This particular potential student only had access to the piano about once a week for about an hour, but they were still interested in lessons because they realized that I teach concepts, and once you understand the concepts or the specifics of the musical language, you are able to play very quickly and lifelong. It's not rote learning, it's conceptual learning. But here's the fun part. The musical language is much, much easier to learn than any foreign language. Okay? And I'm going to prove that to you now. So, I'm going to make the analogy between the musical language and spoken language. In the spoken language, we have letters, right? The English alphabet has 26 letters. I believe the Russian alphabet has 33, something to that effect. Okay? In the musical language, we have 7 letters. That's it. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. That's it. Okay? So right away we're at a factor of 4, right? You have 4 times, basically 4 times the number of letters in the English language as you do in the musical language. Okay? Now, when you play a piece like Für Elise by Beethoven, which I did when I was a teenager, you have all these dots on the page, and you play the dots on the page, but you're really thinking at the alphabetical level. In other words, each dot or each note is a letter. E, D sharp, E, B, D, C, right? Okay, we have a hard time remembering dozens and dozens and dozens of letters, a sequence of letters, right? We have to play this over and over and over again in order to memorize it, and it becomes muscle memory. But muscle memory is fleeting, okay? Our strength is our intellect, right? We don't have 8 hours a day to practice, but we can understand, learn concepts, and then retain them lifelong, okay? So, back to my analogy. So when you're playing classical music or any written note music, you're really at the thinking just letters, okay? We don't speak in letters. We don't go down the street and say H-I, M-A-R-K, H-O-W, A-R-E. It's not efficient, right? It's just not the way we speak. Okay, we speak in words, okay? And words in the musical language are chords. Right? 3 or more letters or 3 or more notes played together is what's called a chord. Okay? 3 or more letters in the English language or any language put together form words, and we speak in words. So now, back to my analogy, if I'm thinking Für Elise, I'm thinking as a jazz pianist, someone who understands music. That's A minor, see it? The notes of A minor and now E major. Back to A minor. A minor. E7 back to A minor. C. Okay, so I'm thinking multiple notes and calling it one name. It's a word. It's called A minor in the musical language. Okay? A minor will never change. This is always A minor. Okay? So if I want to play Stairway to Heaven, I know it starts A minor, right? Goes to F major. Okay, so basically, when you understand the musical language, you understand that 3 or more notes played together is a word. That's the analogy, okay? And every language has a syntax, okay? But before I get to the syntax, let's talk about the different languages in music. So in music, we have what I'll call the C major language. These are the 7 notes 7 notes or 7 letters in the language of C major, all white. Now, in this C major language, there are 7 chords. This is the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it repeats. Okay? So, the English language has hundreds of thousands of words. The German language is the second most wordy, for lack of a better word, second most wordy language. I think they have about 70,000 words. Okay, music has 7 words within each language. There's 12 different languages in music, but there's only 7 words per language. I'll say that again. There's 12 different languages in my analogy. Language of C major, language of F major, language of G major, right? There's 12 different notes on the piano. So each of those notes is a separate language. But there's a lot of overlap between the languages. I'll get to that in a second. All right, so basically, remember, multiple letters together form words. Multiple notes form chords. Chords are words. There's 7 words in the key of, or the language of C major. This is the 1, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it repeats. Okay, the coolest thing is, in the language of F major, we have some common chords with the language of C major. This is the 1 chord in F. This is the 4 chord in the key of, or the language of C major. So this one is common to C major. This one is common to C major. This one's common to C major. This one's common to C major. So there's 7 chords, 7 words in the language of F major. But there's 4 of those words are common or are the same with the language of C major. Okay? So now you could play 2 languages. You could play in the language of C major or the language of F major. And all you really have is 7 and 1, 2, 3 more different. So for 10 chords, in 10 chords you could cover and understand all the words. Okay, because that's our analogy. A chord is a word, multiple letters, multiple notes form words. 10 chords, and now you've got 2 languages, 2 of the 12. Let's say we want to go to the key of G major. Well, this is got 1 sharp, so there's going to be a lot of common chords to C major. For example, this is in C major. It's also in G major. This is in C major and in G major. This one's not. So we have 1, 2, 3 common, 4 common chords. So now we had 3 new ones in the key of F. This one, and this one. We have 3 new ones in the key of G, which would be this one. Give me a second here. This one and this one. So 7 in C, plus 3 and 3 more. 3 in the key of F are new, and 3 to G. So 7 plus 6. In 13 chords, or 13 words, you could play any song in the key of C, F, or G. That's huge. That's 25% of all of the languages on the piano. Remember, there's the language of C major, the language of D flat major, the language of D major, right? But don't get overwhelmed by that because there's overlap. For example, in Italian you might say como se dice. In Spanish it's como se dice. There's a lot of overlap. So it's not like learning a whole new language, right? If you could speak Spanish, you know some Italian words. And in this case, if you could speak this language of C major, you can speak the language of F by learning just 3 new words or 3 new chords, and then G major, just 3 new words. So for 7 plus 3 and 3, 13 chords, you could play any song in the language of C major, F major, or G major. Most songs are in C major, F major, or G major. So that's 1, 2, 3 languages of the 12. So 1/4 of all the possible languages in music by just learning 13 chords. That's amazing, right? We could certainly learn 1 new chord a day, easily. So basically, based on that, there's probably maybe 80 different chords. So you could easily learn all of them in a month. Easily. Especially with my system. I got a system where you learn the majors, and then you just change one note, you get the minors, okay? So that's why the musical language is much easier than learning a foreign language. There's a finite and a very small number of words, right? Even if all the words, the 7 chords or words in the key of C, even if all of the chords in the 12 languages were different, which they're not, but if they were, that would be 12 times 7 or 84 chords. So less than 84 chords or words and you get the musical language. Okay? So then all you have to do is add melodies, right? Which if you have a good ear, you can just play the melody. If you read or don't know how to read real well, you can still play from a lead sheet where there's just simply one note written in the treble clef. That's easy. So, musical language, foreign languages, any language has a syntax. In other words, there's an order to the way we say things. In English, we would say, I live in the greenhouse. In Spanish, you would say, I live in the Casa Verde, house green. Right? There's an order to the words we speak. Okay? And in the musical language, the order is called the circle of fifths. C chords tend to go down a fifth to F chords. F chords tend to go down to B flat chords. B flats tend to go down a fifth to E flats. E flats tend to go down a fifth to A flats. Okay? So I have a mnemonic that teaches this so-called circle of fifths. All that means is chords tend to go down to 5 letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? But the way I teach it, I don't teach it on a circle and talk about the cycle of fourths and the circle of fifths and counterclockwise, clockwise. No. I have a mnemonic, and you learn your circle of fifths like that. And then we look for songs that use it. A goes down a fifth to D, goes down a fifth to G, goes down a fifth to C, goes down a fifth to F. Okay, quick story. I went to Grand Cayman Island. I'm 23 years old. This was a couple decades back. Couldn't play one song from memory. What? I've been playing since I was 6 because no one showed me the musical language, the patterns, right? Circle of fifths, and the practical use of the circle of fifths. Okay, so that's my overview of music as a language. And it's very, very powerful. And it's very easy. Very easy compared with learning a new language. Okay, a lot of overlap between the 7 chords in each language. And you have this syntax where all Western civilization music uses this syntax called circle of fifths. Okay? It's the first question I always ask a new student. What's the true circle of fifths? Often they'll say, oh, that's where you play the C scale. Go up 5 letters and play the G scale. Go up 5 more letters and add another sharp. Go up another. No, that's a little trick for scales. The true circle of fifths describes chord movement down a fifth. Very few people really understand that. That's one of the 5 or 6 tenets that I really, really emphasize with my students. Okay, so if you're interested in learning more about my system of teaching music as a language, you can go to my website, pianoweb.com. You can email me via YouTube, subscribe to my channel, or you can text me at 847-401-1721. Again, that's 847 area code in the U.S., 847-401-1721. I'd love to have your comments, hear your comments, and I would love to teach you. I have openings of about roughly 4 more openings for some highly motivated, highly self-motivated students. Okay, so if you want to learn music as a language, not just dots on a page, then I'm the teacher for you. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.